Right, the top story this morning. More than 10 coloured communities across Gauteng are expected to shut down access to their areas today in protest against crime and unemployment. The shutdown follows a week of violent protests in Westbury, west of Johannesburg. Let's cross over to our reporter in Eldorado Park, Chriselda Lewis. Chriselda, let's start off in there. How are things looking? Good morning to you.
Well, a very good morning to you, Leanne. Not really what we were expecting here this morning following a press release that was sent out indicating that there would be quite a number of these protests against drugs in more than 10 of those coloured communities that you mentioned. The Golden Highway here in Eldorado Park, which runs through Eldorado Park, we were expecting to be closed off this morning as community members said they would go on the rampage over what seems to be what they say is the government's failure to assist them relating to issues of drugs in their communities. Of course, all spurred up, of course, by the latest incident in Eldorado Park with the death of a woman and her relative, a child, being injured. Here in Eldorado Park, you would recall, of course, Leanne, that there's nothing new about what these residents said they would embark on here this morning. You'd recall that the issue of drugs in communities such as Eldorado Park, Riverlea, South Hills, as well as Rega Park and Enadale here in Johannesburg South have been issues that these communities have been raising to such an extent that here in Eldorado Park, where I'm standing, you recall in 2013, the former President Jacob Zuma was here after a mother had written an impassioned letter calling for assistance after she'd indicated that she was struggling. Her son was on drugs, and we saw the then former President Jacob Zuma come here and assure this community that something would be done. You'd recall last year as well, I was in this very same community, which says it's being plagued by quite a number of issues, including service delivery, which they say contribute to quite a number of the issues relating to drugs, which they say is also spurred by issues such as unemployment. You had the then Human Settlements Minister, Lindiwe Sisulu, who was here as well to also try and deal with those issues. The Gauteng Premier, David Makura, as well, was also brought into this community after they'd gone on the rampage. So what was expected to take place here this morning was that community members, of course, said that they were going to be in solidarity with what took place in Westbury, because as far as they're concerned, all these coloured communities are plagued by issues relating to drugs. And you'd recall that here in Eldorado Park, the lolly lounges were one of the issues that they'd raised as well, where there was rampant prostitution. Let me chat now to one of the community leaders, Majid. Please join me here, Majid. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Look, following that release yesterday, we do understand that there were quite a number of townships that were going to be in solidarity with the situation in Westbury. This morning, I see there's quite a number of Johannesburg Metro Police Department. Is it still going ahead?
Yes, Chriselda, good morning to you and good morning to all the viewers. Yes, it's still going ahead. At the present moment, we are just getting all the people ready. So Eldorado Park, yes, it's going to be shut down. As we said, we're going to do it peacefully, and we'll take it from there. As you people know, that in 2013, Jacob Zuma was here. He employed people here for 6 weeks. And after 6 weeks, these people left. But while they were here, the stuff did happen still. Where what happened is drugs, everything was still happening in front of the cops. So what they are doing now in Westbury, they've done it here. It's not something new for us. That people is just going to be for a few months there or a few weeks there, and they're going to be deployed again from there. Another thing that we are sitting with a big crisis, why we're calling this shutdown, is David Makura, the Premier, came here in June and he promised the people that he will be back in September, which he didn't come back in September. Our plea is for service delivery as well as our police station that are as well corrupt. We have corrupt SABC people as well. We're sitting with a case where one of my colleagues, Romelia Harris, is working on. Its name is Munta Ayat. Case number 468/07/2018. This was attempted murder, where a boyfriend attempted to murder her. What happened is he got bail, but he's violating his bail conditions. On the end of the day, he is still going and he's violating their rights.
Yeah.
We have rape victims that is here. We have drugs that is happening in Kersidorp where people are manufacturing.
Yeah.
Nothing is happening. We are saying, as well as local government, we came to them when we said we want opportunity centers here. Nothing is happening. As you can see, this Golden Highway.
Machit, I just want to talk about the issue relating to drugs. We know that the former President Jacob Zuma was here. Quite a number of senior government officials have been in this. Has that made any change? One of the major issues as well was the lolly lounges where prostitution was rife and drugs were being sold. Has there been any change with any of these government officials who've been here?
No, nothing. No changes whatsoever in our community of Eldorado Park and all surrounding coloured areas as well. As they say, we are so-called coloureds, but nothing has changed so far. Everything is still the same.
What would you like to see happen? We know that in Eldorado Park, of course, the TRT has been deployed there following a call by the community members, and it certainly seems that one of the issues that you are raising pertaining to alleged corruption at the local police station is also an issue that was raised in Westbury as well. What would you like in particular to see happen here?
What we would like to see happening here is all the cops must be changed on a regular basis. They mustn't stay firm here in Eldorado Park for a long time. Let's say for a period of 3 months, 6 months, that must happen. Another plea out that we said to the minister as well and the national commissioner is, why don't you bring back the SANUP? SANUP is employed by different stations. Call them back and then employ them again. I guarantee you this thing will stop, definitely.
But Richard, just finally, before we wrap up, don't you think that there's also some onus on the community as well? You live in a community where clearly there are people who are involved with drug activity. You know who these people are. These are your next door neighbors. What are you doing as community members to try and perhaps call for perhaps whether it's a neighbor to say your child is involved in drugs, that person is destroying the community, you need to stop?
Well, we're doing that and we're reporting that to the SABC as well. And on the end of the day is, remember now one thing is we can't put up the drug dealer, the drug person that are using drugs. We have a problem with the drug dealers. Now the reason why this person is going to the drugs is lack of economic development in our area. Skills development is very important. Opportunity centers, that is very important. So all this infrastructure is very important. We can't just blame SABC as well. Sure. We have to blame everybody, local government, national government and provincial government.
All right, Majid Amin, who is one of the community leaders here in Eldorado Park, saying that the shutdown in more than 10 coloured communities here in the Johannesburg South will continue. They basically want similar action that is taken in Westbury to also be implemented here. But he says from the numerous interventions that were promised by government here in Eldorado Park, Leanne, you'd recall, we'd been broadcasting here several times. They say none of that has happened at this stage. And we see, the same rhetoric that we've seen as far as Bonteheuwel in the Western Cape, in Cape Town, the very same rhetoric here in Eldorado Park, Reiger Park and Enedale as well, where these communities are saying they are fed up with drugs and basically calling on Begicele to do something about what they say is rampant corruption at police stations, which is hampering, they say, the fight against drugs and overall crime in their areas.
Right, Chriselda, thanks very much for the update. We'll check in with Chriselda. As you heard, the community saying that they're mobilizing and that this shutdown is still going ahead. But as Chriselda saying, this is not what she's saying. But we'll certainly check in with her a bit later on.